Taking off in 5, 4, 3, 2. Yo, 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 yo. It's your boy, T.O., as you know.
Boy, all rain, real name, no games, no gimmicks.
Yo, it's a motherfucking Fave podcast, the one-stop shop for everything TV, media, film related, along with any other goddamn thing we want to talk about. Coming to you live, direct, Proof Concept Studios, remote today. As with his customary of the last 2-3 years, COVID strikes again. Strikes again, man. When will it end?
Apparently never. This thing's gonna be here a while.
Yeah. So all those people who are looking forward to
what was the new thing the other day? Oh yeah, monkeypox. I know that's still a thing too. I haven't heard as much about it in the news cycle.
Well, it's because it's less transmittable than COVID, obviously, and so of course it's not going to get as much press as COVID has, because COVID spread so quick. Like COVID, just sneeze on a motherfucker.
Yeah, I wonder what the next thing is going to be, because there's always going to be a next.
I'm not looking forward to it, dude. That shit is going to be. We're looking like fucking whatever this shit was that got rid of. I'm trying to think back to different cartoons or even anime.
These things are they're like Marvel villains, right?
Yeah.
Before you've got all right, the Red Cape. What was the Red Cape? The guy from the Marvel First Avengers movie.
Red Skull.
Red Skull, and then you got Loki. And oh shit, this guy's pretty crazy. Then you got Thanos, and then now it's fucking Kang and all these other, celestial villains. Then you got what is it? The God Slayer guy from the
Gore the God Butcher.
Gore the God Butcher, yeah. These viruses are like that. You got E. coli, you got mad cow, then you got COVID, then you got monkeypox.
I mean, but these things have been around forever. It's just, I guess, the difference now is that we have prior to COVID and post COVID, or not even post COVID, during COVID, I guess, is just different, because we now see not necessarily that the diseases themselves, but our response to them. Is the thing that we're like, what the fuck? That we just seemingly don't really respond well to these more modern day.
Yeah, it is crazy how people have responded though. Some people have just responded in a way that is just absolutely just insane, right? Where it's either they think it's a hoax, like those conspiracy theorists, people are like, oh, it's not real, it's fake. It's like, well, here's a whole shit ton of evidence to show you that it is real. And they're like, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I have to believe this is a conspiracy. It's like, okay. And then you got the people who believe it's real and kind of take it too far. People who wear the bodysuits outside. I've seen someone in the grocery store with a gas mask on.
Hey man, I wish I had a gas mask.
Full on gas mask.
Hey, protect yourself. Why are you mad at that?
I'm not mad at it, but it's just holy shit. You didn't go N95. You went motherfucking military standard issue.
I wish everybody had a gas mask. Fuck it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit extreme.
Is it extreme? Why? Give me your reason for why wearing a gas mask in public in 2022 is extreme.
It just seems because COVID is airborne, but it's also surface level, right?
What if you have a compromised immune system? Can you wear a gas mask then?
Then you probably should stay home.
What if you don't want to stay home? What if you want to be out? And your only way of being out is wearing a fucking gas mask.
So again, I'm not against the gas mask. Never said I was against the gas mask. I just think it's
I don't know why I'm going so hard for gas masks. Defending it.
It's just a bit extreme to be in the fruit section.
I'm about to go get
with the heavy breathing and shit.
I'm about to go get She-Hulk to defend me on this gas mask situation.
Oh God, let's talk about that show really quickly.
Yeah. Well, actually, hold off on that. We'll circle back to She-Hulk. Let's get some of this initial business out of the way, so I can get I saw the eye roll already on She-Hulk. I take it that you're not a big fan. But let's talk about Labor Day, man. And the significant lack of movies that come out during the Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's because, let's be real. if there's a big movie coming out or there's opportunity to go to the beach, like people are gonna go to the beach, right? Or go to a cookout. Like this is the last, or there are parties happening. There's so much more happening than wanting to sit in a movie theater for 2 to 3 hours. So
What? What? You traitor
if
to
I'm
our
if I'm at the
podcast.
if somebody's like, yo, you want to go see this movie or you want to go to this barbecue? I'm going to the barbecue. I'm going to the function.
Why?
I'm not gonna go
What
sit in.
guarantees do you have that that's going to be funner than sitting in the
I am
theater?
guaranteed there's going to be food and liquor there.
Are you
Because
guaranteed?
well, I mean, if you go to a barbecue and there's no food, then it's
Yeah.
not a barbecue. It's just like it's a gathering.
What if
It's
it's
like
not the food that you want? I don't know why I'm being such a devil's advocate.
yeah, I mean, there's going to be something there that to eat, and it's going to be free, and there's a 90% chance there's going to be liquor there, unless like you go to somebody's house who's like a recovering alcoholic and they're having a barbecue.
Yeah.
And in that case, I wouldn't go. Or, everybody, we just drink out in the parking lot because John, can't be around vodka. There's no self-control.
Shit. Well, let's talk real quick about the movies coming out this particular week. There's as I mentioned before, there really isn't that much. But the movie that is coming out that is notable is Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. It's a movie starring Daniel Kaluya. Oh, I'm sorry, not Daniel. Is he in the movie? I know he produced. I think the movie's happening under his like production company, I believe. I don't know if he's in the movie though. Is he actually in the movie?
No, it says this
Sterling
is
Sterling.
Regina Hall,
Yeah.
Sterling K. Brown,
Yeah, for sure.
Nicole Behari.
Yeah, and this was directed by Adama Ebo, as well as written by Ebo as well. Yeah, I saw the trailer for this. Yeah, it looks interesting. I feel like it's time for the Black community to have a reckoning with religion. I feel like it's time, right? Enough time has passed.
This is not our religion that we're. This is
forget
this is
our
European
religion. Who cares? Religion. Period. I think we just need to, ironically enough, have a come to Jesus moment with like just religion overall. I'm one of the proponents that religion is fine. Like the idea of religion is fine. It's just that I feel like people don't realize how much they are manipulated by others using religion as the manipulating factor. And so I don't really care what religion you subscribe to. It's just like, don't let that override your own self-preservation, I guess. I don't know if I'm saying
also,
that right.
And don't hold your stupid religion over other people's heads. It's
that's another thing too. Yeah,
especially people who don't care. Because to me, religion is just like cake. Whatever kind you like, it's fine. I like all types of cakes. If you're like, hey, I'm exclusively, red velvet, or I'm exclusively coconut cake or key lime pie, or whatever the fuck you are, great. I'm glad you like what you like. I personally don't give a fuck. So don't talk to me about your cake. I like all kinds of cakes.
Yeah, or here's where
try to convince me to only eat red velvet. Like, no, I like carrot cake too.
Well, here's the thing. I won't disparage people for trying to sway people to believe in their religion. I won't disparage people, but I think where I draw the line is when you denounce other religions in favor of your own, right? And whether that's explicitly or implicitly. That and I guess you could argue by saying that oh, hey, you should believe in my religion. Maybe you're implicitly saying fuck all the other religions. That's an argument to be made. But I really do think that it's not really so much the idea that you can't big up your religion. It's just that when you start saying, if you believe in the other religions, you're going to hell. And it's like, well, yeah, I don't know I don't think that's how that works.
Exactly. And you don't know that for sure. That's not the way it works. You could 100% be wrong, actually. And why do you care?
Well, because I feel like us as humans, we need everybody to believe the same things that we do. Otherwise, it feels like an indictment on the things we believe in. Like, so for instance, right? If somebody who's like an adamant hockey fan, right, is constantly around you, right, and they're constantly talking about hockey, when football season comes around, you're gonna be like, well, shut the fuck up about that hockey shit. I'm focused on football right now. So if they keep talking about hockey, you're gonna be like, I need you to go. Like, you need to get the fuck
Yeah.
out of here.
Well, the difference there, I would say, is that like with sports, there are seasons, right? So if it's not hockey season, and if we're in week one of the NFL football season, and you're like, yo, you want to go watch these hockey recaps? I'm like, no, bro, I want to watch the fucking game. It's Sunday. So then yes, but during hockey season, if you talk about hockey, cool, it's fine. For me, it's just like talk about whatever you want, love whatever you want, like whatever you like. Um, just do not hold your thing above other people's shit. Or
Well, I'm
and
saying
if
that
you try
that's
and
what we do
convince me to like your thing,
naturally.
that's fine. But like, there's a difference between like convincing some, oh, like have you found Christ and our Lord and Savior? You should come to church with me one day, and being like, you're gonna burn in hell if you do not believe in our Lord Jesus Christ. And it's like, whoa, I don't think that's the case. You're more likely to burn than I am.
I don't know who's. I don't know.
You're gonna fall asleep with that cigarette, and then now who's burning?
Yeah. In any event, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, is essentially like one of the only notable movies coming out this year.
So I believe there is another movie coming out called Barbarian. Have you seen the trailer for this one?
No, I've heard nothing about this movie.
I could be wrong. Let me double
Is that
check.
coming out this week?
I believe so. I am double checking if I knew how to spell Barbarian. So Barbarian, I believe this comes out only in theaters September 9th. Is that this week? Is September 9th this week?
That is the following week. Is
No.
what you're pointing towards.
Never mind then. Well, this I'll talk about it anyway. This movie is really interesting movie. So this is a movie. It's starring Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, and Justin Long.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty good cast here. It's a movie about a girl who she goes to an Airbnb, right? Mm-hmm. And when she gets to the Airbnb, there's already somebody there. So it looks like the owner of the house may have like double booked. Yeah. It's middle of the night. It's raining. The guy who's in the house, so there's a woman who comes to the Airbnb, and the guy who's in the house is like, hey, listen, like this is a rough neighborhood. You might not just want to like walk around out here at night. Do you want to come in?
Nope.
And he seems like a nice guy. He's like, here's my ID, take a picture of it, send it to whoever. You can sleep in the room. I'll sleep on the couch. You can lock the door. And then she's sleeping in the bedroom in the middle of the night, and then she just hears the door open, like, and someone run. And then there's like a wall behind a wall and like a staircase behind a wall in the basement. And like an idiot, listen, if I'm ever in a horror situation, I will 100% survive, because there are like, there's just shit you don't do. Yeah. And I feel like in these movies, they always do it. Like if you're in an Airbnb, right, you hear something strange in the basement, are you going down to the basement?
No.
Yeah, see? Movie over. I'm not going down to the basement. And if you do go down to the basement and you like see a light peeking out from behind like a shelf, and then you're just like, where's that light coming from? Would you go and slide the shelf over?
Nah, I'll wait to. It depends on the time of day. If it's during daytime, and I know I have good cell reception down there, maybe. But if it's in the middle of the night, like I have an interesting Airbnb story, not even a story, just like an experience where we were staying at, basically it's almost like it looked like a row of cabins. This was in Seattle on this little island right next to Seattle, or I don't know where the fuck it is in relation to like
Seattle
the city.
Island.
Sure, why not? But so we were on this like little like island thing, and in this cabin, like it's like just like a wood cabin, and so there's not really much of a buffer between you and everything else outside. Like in the outside, the place was beautiful, but at night I just realized like, oh, like we're kind of naked here. There's not really much, so like every little noise like we heard. And so
did you have anything, like did you guys like bring anything like a knife,
like a howitzer,
some pepper spray?
Well, I always carry a somewhat of a knife on me, because I always have a like a multi-tool on me that has a knife in it. So I'm always
That's not gonna stop a wolf.
That's going in my hands. That'll stop any goddamn thing. No. Come on.
Come on. What do you think, you're Rambo?
Yeah.
With the fucking Was it one of those Swiss Army knives things where there's a screwdriver and there's a little corkscrew?
No. All right. Come on. If something comes into the room, or and here's why I try not to get in fights, or I really go the extra mile, like not to get into weird confrontation, is because there is either psycho mode or not psycho mode. I don't have. There is no in between, right?
Yeah, but a wolf is always in psycho mode.
Look,
A wolf is like, I don't care if you're in psycho mode or sicko mode.
Hey,
I'm trying to feed my cubs.
Yeah, said he's fucking Astro World out there.
Probably. Oh my god! If you're fighting a wolf that listens to like NBA YoungBoy or Travis Scott, you're just like, oh shit.
This dude's gonna be wilding out. All right. Anyways, so yeah, like long story short, if I find myself in those situations, look, very well, I'm not you, right? I'm not under the belief that I wouldn't be killed in that situation. I stand a strong chance, but best believe that whatever the thing is that's attacking me will not be the same after that, right? Like you're going to be missing an arm, you're going to be missing a leg, an eye, something is coming with me. All right,
like the bear from Revenant or Jason Voorhees.
Okay, a bear is a little different, right? If it's a bear, because a bear's so fucking big and strong.
You're in a cabin in the woods. A bear could just kick in the door, like
100%. Exactly. Coming there waving a shotgun, like what the fuck? What do you do? Like Samuel L. Jackson. We're gonna talk about this here in a sec about like what we're watching, but I just watched. Well, I'll tell you then. But that reminded me of a particular scene from Coming to America. Where Samuel L. Jackson comes in with the fucking shotgun.
Whack Arnold's, yeah.
The Whack Arnold's. That was not Whack Arnold's. What was Whack Arnold's?
What's Whack Arnold's? Was maybe
no, that's Dave Chappelle.
Chappelle,
yeah, that's Chappelle. Yeah,
their show was their store was called something else because they were
McDowell's.
McDowell's.
Yeah. No. They have the golden arches. We've got the golden arcs. All right, sir. Whatever you say, sir. Yo, I just heard a weird fucking story. Is that like I think somebody had like a pop-up shop that was called McDowell's, and they got sued by I think the production company or like the movie studio, whatever that
made
Coming to America.
I mean,
like what kind of shit is that? Just like the property's 8,000 years old.
Let somebody else eat.
Yeah,
And
literally.
I wonder if the person's last name is actually McDowell. You can't sue me for using my own likeness.
You can if it's like McDowell and then you just copy their shit like verbatim.
True, yeah. I guess if you use the same like branding, colors, font, yeah. But if you do something different, you should
like if you're McDowell's, but you fucking you make fucking tennis balls. Like I don't think they're going to be like yeah. But anywho, you got any crazy plans this Labor Day weekend?
Dude, I didn't even realize this was Labor Day weekend, so I have no plans at all. I'm supposed to be helping with the move tomorrow. Sunday.
Are there other people to help with the move, or is it just you going to be carrying a fucking mattress on your back?
No, I'm just helping a friend move.
Okay.
And other than that, I really have nothing. There's a fair. There's like the Maryland State Fair.
I fucking hate that. I hate the fucking
since
fair.
I've been to a fair.
I hate
the fair. Go, you hate the fair?
I hate the fair. Too many people. I went to the fair.
Yep.
Like either last year or the year before, dude, and just no. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was last year because the year before it would have been canceled. But it's just too many fucking people out at the fucking fair, dude, and it's all just not just everybody who you don't want to be at the fair is at the fucking fair. So
fair food, because fair food, you get some shit that you don't, a big massive turkey leg or like fried Oreos, like shit that you can't normally eat.
I feel like fair food is only attractive because it's called fair food. If any other context, a fucking fried Oreo does not sound appealing.
Have you ever had a fried Oreo?
Have you tried the fried Oreo on your own? Like, did you ever one day was like, I want to go for it here.
I don't have the. I probably could if I really actually looked up a recipe and did it.
But you never did. Is what my point is here is that there is no other context.
I can do it is to get it at the state fair. So it's like Also, funnel cake. I love funnel cake. One of my favorite foods. There's always funnel cake at the fair.
Yeah, funnel cake.
So I'm just gonna go eat like a fucking dog.
What toppings do you go for with the?
No toppings. I don't do none of that gimmicky shit. I just do regular powdered sugar.
You
No,
fucking
people who put like
square ass motherfucker.
blueberries or jam or bananas. No, no, no. Like it is perfect as is.
You know what you sounded like
when you add the bullshit.
You sounded like the 40-year-old version is what you just sounded like right now. You sounded like Steve Carell in the 40-year-old version. That's what I heard when you just said that.
As is.
You
don't need to add.
So if somebody came and said I wanted to add some blueberries to the fucking funnel cake, you'd be like, no.
You know how much I love blueberry pancakes, but I would no. I've never had so I've had funnel cakes with like the extra toppings on it and shit.
Yeah.
Never enjoyed it as much as just the original basic funnel cake.
No, you're crazy.
Like missionary sex. It's underrated.
Missionary sex is correctly rated in that it's pretty average.
No.
It's pretty average. Come on.
I'm telling you. It seems that, but it's like it gets like a bad rap. It's not bad.
I'm not saying average is bad. I'm just saying it is average though. It's a very average position.
I would say it's slightly above average.
How is it slightly above average? What is it that makes it's the default position? Is when you're talking about sex, missionary is the default.
It is the default. Anymore.
Get at what is the default if not missionary?
I think at this point in 2022, from the back is
at 2020. No. 2022 is not that is not the default. It takes coordination to like just make that happen, right? Like you gotta turn around. It takes
a hip pivot. You gotta bend the hip.
No, I'm talking about two people. Okay, two people kissing, making out, whatever. What is the position that they're going to go to directly after that? After the clothes come off, it's missionary. It's immediately missionary, right? And then you'll talk.
You are missionary only happens in the bedroom. What if you're like in a parking lot or you're in the kitchen, or
well, there's different versions of missionary, right? I don't know what all the sex terms are, but there's missionary against the wall. There's missionary on the table. There's missionary. They're like, come on, like there's different versions.
Table has to be the perfect height. Yeah. if you're a tall guy or short, it may or may not work out. But I'm telling you, it's underrated. People, it gets a bad rap.
I don't know how we get on these topics. Okay.
At the fair, that's what those are my plans for the weekend. I may pop down for a day trip to the beach.
Yeah.
But who knows? What are your plans?
Not a goddamn thing. COVID has me locked up.
Yeah.
I don't have COVID. At least at the moment, but pretty significant exposure. So I'm trying to wait it out. I'm trying to do the responsible thing. I was supposed to go to an O's game tomorrow. That obviously I canceled. I was supposed to go to a thing today, and I'm not able to attend because of fucking COVID. But hopefully.
Damn, that sucks, dude.
It's all right. It's okay. Look, man. I'm still eternally grateful that for one, I've never had it. But then two, I'll gladly suffer this if it means like, I'm not on a fucking respirator in the hospital, right? Like, give me the occasional canceled plans if it means that,
Yeah, don't cancel my life.
Exactly.
Jesus.
Honk for Jesus. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so it is what it is. Another part of Labor Day weekend though is the U.S. Open tennis. One of my favorite sports, dude. You talk about things that are highly underrated. Fuck missionary. Literally. But
just got that.
Thank you. I'm here all week, folks. But the U.S. Open is or tennis overall is a highly underrated sport. It's so exciting. Sure. It doesn't matter whether it's men's, women. In fact, I kind of argue that women's tennis is probably better than men's tennis. I don't know what it is. It's just watching men's tennis sometimes can be boring.
I think women's competitive is a bit more. Women's tennis is
a little bit more competitive, right? But here's the thing: is I went through like maybe a number of years where I knew all the players, even like the lesser known players. Like I knew, not everybody, but a lot of people. Over the past couple of years, I've kind of fallen back in terms of just like I've missed out on what the changes have been. But even when I just pop on just two random, or like watching the U.S. Open, watching like just like random matches, I still find women's tennis to be way more exciting than men's, and I can't pinpoint exactly why. I like when I talk about the NBA versus the WNBA, I can tell you explicitly why I find the NBA more exciting than the WNBA. But when watching tennis, I can't really describe to you what the difference is. It's just I don't know if it's
Yeah, for me, I just feel like there's more competition among, like, let's say, like the top 10 players, right? It's like the top 10 women's tennis players.
But
They're all,
name me literally anybody in the top 10 right now in women's tennis.
I mean,
That's
Serena,
she's
Naomi
not.
Osaka,
No,
Sloane.
so
Okay, like,
Serena
so
is
I'm
not
just,
even anywhere near the top
yeah,
10.
yeah, she's not. I mean, come on, but we know, like, all time, she's number one.
Okay, all time, but I'm talking
Yeah,
about like
but
literally
like,
today's tennis, like right now, like this year.
you're right. I don't have the offhand top 10, but like
Yeah.
what I'm speaking to is more so like the players that are exciting to watch, right? And the players are like interesting to watch, regardless
But
of their
we have
rank.
Nadal, we have Djokovic, we've got Federer, I guess when he's healthy. We've got
Federer is not. I watched
Wawrinka.
Nadal's last match. It wasn't. I think like this is what we're talking about here. Like it wasn't as exciting as like Naomi Osaka's last match versus I forget the young woman she played, but it was like
Yeah, well,
I just feel like it
tell
was.
Naomi to stop taking L's, and maybe I'll find her exciting to watch.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the future of the sport in terms of like who are the leaders in like the women's category who are going to emerge, and I do feel like what Serena and Venus had was like a resilience. Now, granted, they did grow up in an age prior to the like heavy social media presence that we have now. So even if you were scrutinized, you heard less of it because it wasn't on your phone screen every single day, you know? Whereas younger athletes today, it's hard to get away from the scrutiny because it's like you pick up your phone and an article publishes like, oh, this athlete is lost, or you go on social media and you see like people create videos about you, or you turn on the TV and Skip Bayless is hating on you and your kid, so it's like it's hard to get away from.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand, but like, I just feel like Venus and Serena, they suffered through so much criticism throughout the course of their career, but it's like it's as if it never shook them, and I've always admired their like resilience.
Well, I think it's just because they were just that damn good, right? Who was it? I think it was a wrestler, right? That their like tag was like, "I'm just that damn good," and I think that when I think of Venus and Serena, that was the case. First it was Venus, and then Serena a little later after. They just were dominant. Like they were undeniable. There was no way you could be you could be the most racist person, but you'd at the end of the match you'd have to just give it up for them because they were just that fucking dominant. And so we have arrived. It would seem at the end for not Venus. I think she might be already retired. Although I think they played in like a doubles.
Yeah, they played in a doubles not yesterday. I think the day before.
Yeah.
So I don't think Venus is quite done yet.
I think she is from singles. I haven't seen her in a singles match in a hot sec.
Yeah.
But
she's obviously had like a ton of health issues. She may have just came back to play this last double with Serena. Before.
Well, I think this was an important one because it would appear that we have arrived at the end of Serena's tennis career. Yesterday she had a match, and I forget exactly the woman's name she had. I could probably just easily.
Yeah, I couldn't pronounce that name if I tried my hardest.
And man, here's what I'll say. There is Serena is essentially not essentially. She's just the GOAT, right? One might even argue in sports, period, she might just be the GOAT. Now, obviously, we have to talk about the Muhammad Ali's of the world, as well as I guess people can throw in like Jordan and all this other stuff, right? But
yeah, you got to throw in LeBron, Jordan, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Usain Bolt. I don't know if I'd say Serena Williams is the greatest athlete of all time when you're like comparing her.
I don't know, dude. For
LeBron James,
for as dominant as she has been at her sport, I think she might be clearly. But I guess that's what I'm saying. There's no really way you could compare anybody from one sport to the other in terms of like literally like who's the better athlete, right? Like compare like a LeBron James to like fucking like how would you even compare LeBron James to an Usain Bolt, right? Like there's it's two different things. They do two different things, right?
Yeah, very true.
But in terms of her dominant nature in her sport, I'm not sure if there is anybody else who was as dominant for as long as Serena was in their individual sport. I don't
can
know.
agree with that.
You could again, you can argue maybe Muhammad Ali, but and I'm actually watching a little bit. I'll get to this in a fucking second. But I'm watching a lot more boxing than I pretty much ever have, and I'll tell you why.
Boxing is a great sport. UFC too. I love UFC.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll get to that conversation. But anyways, so I think that Serena might be the GOAT of GOATs now, or there maybe Brady, but I've never considered Brady to be like, if I'm putting him up there, if I'm ranking the forget the sport, just hey, how dominant have you been at your sport?
You think Brady's greatness can be contended?
I think because football is a little different, like in that, like, yes, Brady had a significant portion of, he can affect the outcome of a game, but there's so many other factors within that. And
yeah, I mean, it's a team sport, right? Like the thing about tennis is like it is a singular sport where, so like when that athlete steps on the court, their greatness is their own. Right?
Yeah. So it's harder to
dependent, right? Like Brady's only as good as the receiver is at catching the ball. So if Brady could throw the perfect throw, but if the receiver doesn't catch it, then it's not the perfect throw.
Or vice versa. If Brady doesn't throw such a great ball and his receiver makes a spectacular catch, he's playing with Randy Moss again. I don't know,
Yeah.
Can you really say that he's like that dominant, and so anyways, so I say all that to say that it would appear that Serena's career has come to the end after taking a loss yesterday in the third round of the U.S. Open. And what a fucking career it's been. But I think the lasting effect on that I see is that both Serena and Venus paved the road not just for women in tennis, not just for black women in tennis, but without them, arguably speaking, the culture just simply would not be the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To have somebody who, and I was just watching the crowd yesterday as they were watching the match, and everybody was on like it didn't matter who you were, what color you are, whatever the case is, you were rooting so hard for Serena.
To the point where Serena had to ask the crowd to quiet down.
Yeah, she even had to wait sometimes. Yeah,
for the other player to say, hey, like, let's play a fair match, because like the cheers were very, very one sided
for sure. And so I don't, you certainly can get that in other sports and other people who've been dominant in their sports and in their individual sports, but it just seems like Venus and Serena carved out a different. They're so unique in the landscape of sports. In that in the era in which they came up in, they changed the conversation not by controversy, but simply by will, and that they were just so fucking good that they simply could not be denied. I think, yeah, as I watched, like it wasn't my favorite thing to watch Serena play later, in the later part of her career, simply because I just hated watching her lose, and some of her matches were just so frustrating to watch, because it's like she in spurts, just like yesterday. She in spurts, oh my gosh, like she just looks like she's like a world beater, but she just didn't, and it happens, man. Like your body gets older, you're not able to move as quick, you're just a tick slower than you used to be. And yeah,
I was looking at some stats yesterday. It was like Serena won her first, I think she won her first match or something like that on a public stage, on like a major tournament stage, before Tom Brady threw his first touchdown as a Michigan Wolverine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Before LeBron got drafted into the NBA, and it was like, and then at the time
we're talking about mid-90s,
when she won her first major match, Tim Duncan was Rookie of the Year in the NBA. And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
She's been dominating this motherfucker for like
minute.
3 decades, it seems.
You could argue for at least 2, she was unquestionably the best at her sport. Period. There's not, and I mean men and women's. Like she's simply the best at her sport.
I'm not gonna argue that.
But in that third decade, I think we've obviously you see the and we might as well jump into because I had some other things I was going to talk about this week, last week, but I'm really interested to talk about this. So a product that I've been working on lately is basically digitizing. My dad, when throughout the late '80s and throughout the '90s, he would record pretty much any and all movies that he watched. So we have all these we used to have these like wall units. And I don't know for those kids who don't know what the fuck wall units are. They're basically just like big ass cabinets, and they were filled from top to bottom with movies on cassette tapes. Now, if you don't know what the fuck a cassette tape is, Google it. And so on each tape, there's about 3 or 4 movies.
No, better yet, if you don't know what a cassette tape is, check your parents' closet on that top shelf in the back. There's a video of your mom and your dad right there.
For sure. Yeah. You just you don't want to fast forward to the end though. Just watch a little bit at the beginning and then probably just turn it off right then after. You don't want to see the results of the end of that tape.
How you were conceived.
Basically, nobody wants to see the end of that tape. And I said cassette tape. It's not cassette tape. Like a videotape.
VHS, right?
VHS. Yeah.
And what does VHS stand for? Does anyone actually know?
Yeah. Well,
video
home system.
So the VHS was a player, right? It was like the device that.
No. VHS is the actual, but it's technically a VHS cassette. Is the thing? Is the actual tape.
Video home player cassette.
Yeah.
And then, but the actual thing that went into the the thing that went into the VHS was what? Was that a cassette too?
Yeah, that's the actual cassette.
See, I've always referred to cassettes as like the little cartridge you'd put into like a Walkman.
Yeah, but this is like the difference between calling something like everybody calls it a Xerox instead of a photocopy or whatever the actual term is, right? Because that's just that's what we're used to calling it. But the actual thing itself is called a VHS cassette. Is the actual thing that you would put into a VCR.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
video home system.
Video cassette recorder is where we get VCR from. Yeah.
Brilliant. Never thought of this shit.
Yo, dude, I was actually just thinking about that. Like obviously film is one thing, but to come up with the technology for VHS, because like it doesn't work exactly like an actual like film,
No, I'm giving a shout out to the person who like thinks of the name for this shit, right? Because the technology is one thing, but like you got to come up with a cool name for the shit.
You have to have a fire name. Yeah.
Imagine if that were called something like, Square Player. It's like
well, look at what happened to Laserdisc, right? They tried to sound too cool, and that shit was whack. You can try to overdo it, right?
Yeah.
By trying to sound too cool.
I never got on Laserdisc or like Blu-ray. I don't give a fuck about that Blu-ray. Just play the movie,
Yeah. So, anyways, so we have all these movies, right? And they just are sitting here, and they're starting to corrode. They're starting to, deteriorate a bit. And so I have it that I'm going to digitize it all. Now, this is, if you see the amount of tapes, you'd be like, this is an insurmountable adventure that I'm going on here. But on the tapes, on any given tape, there's about 3 to 4 movies, right? Typically 3, but 4, if it calls for it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why? To what end?
Honestly,
most of these movies are probably DVDs, right? That you can just get DVDs elsewhere.
Yeah. I could buy it, but these are,
or you can just like stream it.
For sure, but for some of them, actually, you would have to pay for. Like, so for instance, for whatever reason, in my mind, like it was like a few months ago, I wanted to watch Toxic Avenger. I don't know if you ever knew about that movie, but it's just like a weird fucking B movie. It's just a weird movie. And I was looking for it, and then I think I found it on like, it's like Pluto or one of these weird little like, streaming services. But I had to like either pay for it or I had to suffer through an obnoxious amount of ads in order to like watch it, and to the point where I was just like, fuck it, I don't desire to watch this at that this much, that I'm willing to suffer through this. But we have the VHS of it, and so it's easy enough for me. Hey, it's a whole movie, we're allowed to record things and then
what is
watch
the cost associated with this, or are you doing yourself?
No, I'm doing it myself. That's why it's easy for me to do, because I have all the tools and things like I already naturally have all the tools and stuff for it. So it's no cost to me to do it. So
just a time commitment.
Just the time, but it's
a time commitment dedicated to
this? It's really not that much. The only thing is just putting it in and hitting record. Is and then letting it play, and then I can leave, go do my thing. The thing plays for about 4 or 5 hours, records all the stuff, and I hit stop, and then I move on to the next thing.
Listen, if it doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of time, and you just hit a couple of buttons, I guess it's worth it.
Yeah, super easy.
Tread lightly, don't come across like a set you don't want to come across.
No, they're
found your parents' porn. It's just like, oh god.
No, there was none of it. Now, weirdly enough, like a lot of these like B movies from like the fucking 80s and 90s, they effectively act as porn, because some of these scenes I'm like, yo, what year was this? Yeah, they used to kind of go in some of these B movies. A little shocking, if I'm being perfectly fucking honest with you, for stuff that was just like on like HBO. Like it wasn't like not even HBO After Dark. It's just HBO.
It's funny. We got a conversation about HBO a little bit later on about like how they have historically dropped the ball a few times.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
So anyways, the point I'm trying to get to with this is, so I'm doing these recordings, and on some of the tapes, there's like a mix of like stuff that like after the movies that I see that are written on there, there's like stuff that's just like randomly recorded, like old wrestling matches, old concerts, yada yada. One of the things that's on there pretty popularly is boxing. So I got privy to
Damn, this is a long way we got back to boxing.
We got back to boxing. So I got privy to watching Mike Tyson's first loss to James Buster Douglas. And it was captivating because not only did they have like the actual fight, but it was like the pre-fight stuff, the post-fight stuff. And so you got to see like the interviews, and then we live in 2022 now, so I could of course go look all this shit up and see all like the background about it, about what the theories are for why Tyson lost, and then to hear Tyson talk about it like decades later of like what was going on.
He broke his back or
no. What's your injury? A spinal. I broke my spine.
Broke my spine.
All right, Mike.
My back broken.
Now Mike Tyson. Now this has led me to then like look into like boxing and specifically Tyson. He's such a weird character, man. This guy. He's both somehow the villain as well as sort of the hero, and when growing up in the 90s, especially like not being as observant as because I was a kid, so it was just like, oh, Mike Tyson, cool. And then it got towards like the late 90s, early 2000s, where he was just straight the villain. Like it was just Mike Tyson was a fucking psychopath who had a big ass tattoo on his face. That guy is not to be trifled with. This is around the time
when like the divorce and the rape allegations and like the money scandal issues and whatnot, and then like the media definitely kind of portrayed him to be like just a.
I don't think the media had to try that hard. I don't think. I think he kind of served it up to the media that what, fuck it. If you're gonna call me a villain, I'm going to be the fucking villain, and he like leaned into it.
Yeah, that is true. I've heard several interviews where he was like, like some of the things that he got accused of doing throughout his career. He was like, man, I wish I would have just did that shit. So then like they would have a reason to call me a bad guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, as Mike Tyson. Where Mike Tyson is today, I love the guy, man. I love his podcast. His interviews are always great. He's doing things that like make him happy, and I'm like, I like where he's at.
Yeah,
I like seeing someone go through this shit, and I go through like the lows of the lows. Like, I was listening to an interview he was doing the other day. I think it was a Drink Champs interview, and he was talking about how like he got to a point where he lost so much money that he literally had to like start borrowing money from other people to pay his mortgage.
Yeah,
and then after that, certain things started to fall in line with him, and now he is where he's at now.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, and like for me, he's an interesting character. Is because it's like then you have to kind of go back and then look at things like his like rape allegation. Not even rape allegation. Like they literally convicted him of rape.
Yeah.
He actually went to jail for it. So he is and he had it. I watched an interview with him where like the commentator or the interviewer basically like brought that up just like off the like it was just like a normal interview, and then he was like, hey, so you shook hands with the mayor last week, how do you feel about being a convicted rapist? And shaking hands with, and Mike was like, man, fuck you. Like literally on like live on air. He was like, man, I can answer that, but also fuck you. And so I don't know, he's super fucking weird fucking dude. The point I'm trying to make with this is that going back to like watch all of these like older things, it really does like just seeing the comparison between sort of like how things were like in the 90s and now, but like within their like actual context. Because it's one thing to see a clip on YouTube or whatever the case is and to get like interested in a thing. It's another thing to see the entire fucking thing out. Like with some of the movies that were recorded, it's not only the movie but also the commercials that come along with the movies, and you just see how life was in the fucking 90s and 80s. It's really interesting sort of.
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck back in like the 90s, early 2000s with certain commercials. Like they were risky as hell. Like there were no laws apparently on like what you could and couldn't advertise or do in a commercial ad.
Yeah,
it's like a Mentos commercial where like a guy drops a Mentos on his dick and a woman just leans over and she's like, holy shit, Mentos, you can't do that.
Yeah, and it's so funny how like none of those companies like really like, how people have to like pay for the shit that they've like said and done. None of these companies really have to do that, right? Like if people will bring up old tweets of yours and be like, oh my god, you monster, but it's like it's like fucking like Coca-Cola was actually putting Coke in their actual, and it's just like, I mean, it's what they did back then.
They were just like, we stopped doing it.
Yeah. It's like, how many lives you ruined by people just drinking Coke? Like, what the fuck? Somebody was strung the fuck out, drinking a can a day. Yeah. Anyways, so I don't, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of lost the plot there as far as why I even brought up the.
I have no idea.
It had something to do. It had something to do with Serena Williams
transcribing old videos, and that's a project you're working on.
Yeah.
What else are you watching?
Oh yeah. That's What else am I watching? Game of Thrones or House of Dragon. Game of Thrones. Let's just fucking call it Game of Thrones. Let's why are we pretending here? So recently watched that. I feel like I watched something else where I was like excited to talk about it because I had opinions. What else have I watched? Fuck. I don't know. I've
while you jog
busy.
Your memory, so I've also been watching House of Dragons, but I also started season 3 of C with Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. Picked right back up where season 2 left off on the final episode. Like I was just like, yo, this one of the best season openers I've seen in a while. It's a great show. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. It's underrated. It's that's been like the theme of this episode. It's an underrated show. The writing is great, the casting is great, the direction is great. Like there's so many good things about it. I feel like the only reason people are talking more about it is because it's on Apple TV. Like if this were a HBO show or if this were on Netflix or Hulu, it would be like talk of the town. But Apple TV it's still building its like reputation for like quality content.
It doesn't seem like they're trying that hard to like make it like a big thing though. I think they like the low key status. I feel like I suspect this much.
Yeah. I wonder what their strategy is because this is like definitely like one of their best shows, hands down.
Yeah.
So I've been watching that season 3, episode 1. I believe episode 2 just dropped yesterday. I've also been watching She-Hulk on Disney Plus. A lot going on in She-Hulk. A lot of cameos. They're doing like the Deadpool thing where like, in some points she's acting, at other points she's talking directly to the camera.
Well, I don't think that's a Deadpool thing so much as like, you remember like, I think this was like a part of, I want to say either Ally McBeal or like, there's like some like 90s sitcom where it was like a trope of just like the person like talks to the camera about whatever's going on at that exact moment. I think that's what they're trying to mimic, which is why like this actually mimics a like a comedy, like a 90s comedy. It's pretty reminiscent of like if it wasn't a Marvel property, it would be categorized as that.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly what that show was, but I do think they are pulling from there's like a style of filming to this that I use Deadpool as a reference, but I know even Deadpool referenced that from an earlier '90s sitcom.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just kind of all over the place. It's like it tries to be very socially aware, but at the same time stay on track with like Marvel. A lot of cameos. Megan the Stallion was in there twerking with She-Hulk. Post credit scene in like a post credit scene. It's just like, and then if you look at where the Hulk is, right, where his character is, like he's gotten weaker and weaker and weaker in every Marvel movie. Like, if you look at like Bruce Banner's, Eric Bana's first Hulk film, and then when Edward Norton took over, and then like when Mark Ruffalo took over as Hulk in like the Avengers film, and remember he turned into a Hulk and he like punched that like giant robot that came through the portal, and like one punch destroyed the whole thing. He like just fucked up the whole city, and then now in She-Hulk, like he got ran over by a car. You know, it's like just a Jeep Wrangler. And it's just like what's
What do
happening to
you
the Hulk.
like? What do you like? Be like when he was Bruce, or when he like
When
the
he was
Hulk?
like in Hulk mode, right? Like, there was a scene where She-Hulk was like trying to drive away and like go back to New York and just like live her regular life.
Yeah.
And then she was driving a Jeep Wrangler, and then like he was in front of it, like, no, you can't leave. And she just drove and kind of just like ran him over. And it's just
Yeah, but
like,
I think that's as a result of him marrying Hulk with Bruce Banner, right? So now you've got Professor
yeah,
Hulk.
but the thing was, you're supposed to get both of them, right? You're supposed to get the best of both of
I
them, the
didn't see
power
him
and the
bleeding
strength of the Hulk.
afterwards.
Huh?
I didn't see him bleeding afterwards. I mean,
Sure, but it's also like you can't take on. It wasn't even the Rubicon or the Sahara edition. It was just like it was the regular. I don't even know if it was 4x4. I think it was front wheel drive. Like you can't take that on. So anyway, I don't like what they're doing with the Hulk in Marvel. I This show, the She-Hulk, like it's entertaining, but it's not like um it feels like a little bit gimmicky because they have a lot of cameos. She's talking directly to the camera. Megan the Stallion's in it. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this show. I think it's just like they're writing the episode like on the fly. It feels like.
no, I think that they had a pretty like specific game plan with this. I just think this is like vastly different, not vastly, but like pretty different than a lot of the other stuff that that we're used to watching from Marvel. So I don't.
Yeah, but I expect everything to be different. Like I expect Moon Knight to be different from WandaVision. I expect that to be different from like Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So I did expect different with She-Hulk, especially since she's going to be like an attorney at law, right? Um, I and maybe it's just too early because there's only been 2 episodes. I
Sure.
don't know where the fuck they're going with this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where they're going either. I'm not gonna lie and say that it's my favorite thing either, but I respect the attempt. Just like, WandaVision wasn't really like too high up on my list, but it was different, you know what I mean? And it
Yeah,
was unique. And so, it wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I can respect and when you're Marvel, you have to at this point, everything that you do, you pretty much have to take a chance with because we've seen it fucking all, right? The
yeah,
Infinity Saga, basically, it gave us everything we could want from like the standard shit. Now give me some weird shit some of it I'm gonna love, some of it I'm gonna hate. But you got
yeah.
to take a chance because you can't play it safe if you're Marvel. Otherwise, why the fuck are we buying tickets? Like I remember what Marvel movie did I watch in theaters where I walked out of it like, yo, I need like those 2 hours back, dude. Like I rarely say that about a movie,
Mm.
but it was like maybe it was like I don't know if it was Doctor Strange. Although I kind of felt that way about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Um,
The last movie I felt that way about for me was like Captain Marvel. I didn't think that was particularly good. I didn't particularly love Doctor Strange either.
yeah.
Um, uh, the last Spider-Man movie, I was
No,
just
I
kind
really
of like,
liked. I thought No Way Home was pretty dope. I thought it was better
uh,
than Strange at the very minimum.
I
Um,
thought the Doctor Strange movie was better. I remember watching No Way Home, and I was like, yo, I can't wait to get home. Like that's
yeah, you were
yeah, I
saving
know.
that one up, weren't you?
Like I
That
think
one
I
was in
had
the
that in the
chamber.
chamber. It was in the back. It was in the back right here. I was waiting to pull it forward. But
uh,
I don't know. Like now, granted, with Thor, Love and Thunder, that movie was great. I had a really good time watching that movie. So I'm expecting She-Hulk to be different. I
mhm.
just want to get to a point where I understand where it's going. And I want it to be more about like the She-Hulk both as an attorney and like her as She-Hulk and kind of like maybe stepping into that and like less about like some of the gimmicky things that I'm seeing so far. So
Mm.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Only on episode 2. There's plenty more to go.
Yeah, for sure. As for anything else that I'm watching, it's been a busy past couple of weeks, so I haven't been able to watch much. One thing that I have been doing though is and I know I can sense what your reaction is going to be to this. I'm going back and watching Dragon Ball. Um, which I'm not gonna lie, even for me, is a pretty fucking heavy lift because it's so long. There's so many episodes,
Yeah.
and they're all basically the same. It's
And this is the
basically
original Dragon Ball with like a
the
young Goku,
original
right?
Dragon Ball. Because I
Yeah.
had never, or I wouldn't say I'd never watched it, but I remember watching it in spurts when I was a kid, but I just never really like stuck with it. It wasn't until Dragon Ball Z when they're fucking when Kamehamehas, fucking that were as big as the world was happening, that I really started to get interested in Dragon Ball Z. But watching Dragon Ball, it always felt like a little bit of a kiddie show. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, this is not a kiddie show. Like it is, but it isn't. Like basically for like the first like 30 episodes, just Goku doing goofy shit, like touching people's crotch area, and being like, "Oh, are you a boy or are you a girl?" Because apparently he didn't know the difference between boys and girls at that point. Um, and just like weird shit, and then like Master Roshi's perviness is just
Yeah,
on
Goku
another
Master
level.
Roshi was a dirtbag for sure.
Jesus Christ! Like it just like every episode, half the episodes about Master Roshi being a fucking perv, and then doing some extremely sus things. Um, so, anyways, I'm going back through watching that. I think I might pick anime up back up. I left it for a second. But I think I might try. What is this? One Punch? Is
One
this thing?
Punch or One Punch Man.
One Punch
So
Man?
there's
Is that a
One
thing?
Piece and there's One Punch
I
Man.
think I'm gonna try both. I've heard about both, so I think I'm gonna try those, and then I think I might go back and watch Cowboy Bebop. I love that shit so much. It was a
Yo,
vibe. It was a
I'm
whole
so
vibe.
again, I'm watching Cowboy Bebop right now. I've been watching it every single night for like the past like week and a half.
Yeah.
And it's like my comfort show
Mm.
to kind of like doze off to, and like I'll wake up in like the middle of an episode and turn the TV off and like go upstairs and go to bed. But it's just like it's been nice, man. Last night I had a glass of wine.
It's a vibe,
I was
dude.
just watching some
Nah,
Bebop.
nah, you weren't watching Bebop. Tell us what you were really watching.
I
This
was watching
this
Bebop.
40-year-old
I
white
did watch
woman.
Age of Adeline last night, which was like
You,
it's been on my Netflix like to watch list since forever,
you
bro. And like
soccer mom.
I was just like, you know what? Let me just fucking watch this movie. Like, let me see what all the hype is about.
Hype?
Very
What hype?
interesting film. I don't know.
Where is their hype?
Among
Who's
the
hyping this movie up?
among the women at the country club, they've all been talking about it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It was actually a pretty interesting movie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not mad. I watched it. It wasn't a waste of my time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, that's
Then I switched to Bebop.
and that is fair. Look, we're all talking about the things we're watching. We know what we're going to be watching in about a week or so. NFL's back.
Yes.
We're just over a week away from now. Week one starts, I guess, technically on Thursday, but week one proper starts just over a week from now. What are your predictions, man? Both talk about the predictions as well as how you think you did in fantasy, because I know the answer to this question.
Gosh.
So yeah, I
So
want the embarrassment to be
I had
displayed.
to auto draft because I had
Yeah.
extenuating circumstances. Why can't I get this word out? Extenuating circumstances that prevented
Yeah.
me from drafting in the way that I wanted to draft.
Yeah.
So my team,
It's hard to
I give
watch,
my
yeah.
team like a B plus.
You
I think
don't
my
give your
rating
team
was like a
yeah.
C. I know, yeah, my rating was like a C, but I think so I've made some trades and some changes recently. I think my team right now is sitting at a B plus. I think I'm gonna edge out a few motherfuckers because I got some sleepers. I got some sleeper agents, I swear. But am I predicting a W here? No. I mean, my quarterback is Kyler Murray, and I think he's like a tier 3 quarterback. So I didn't even get any of the tier 1 or tier 2 quarterbacks.
He'll get you some points, some rushing
He'll
touchdowns.
definitely give me some points, but like
Yeah.
he'll also make a lot of mistakes, throw a lot of interceptions, might get fucking hurt with the way he plays.
There's Kyler Murray, the football, like in the actual game, right? In terms of like, does he get the dub for his team or not? And then there's Kyler Murray, the fantasy football player, and I think that the fantasy football factor of it, you could give a fuck if he strikes out on third or fourth down or whatever the case is. Like, as long as he throws a few touchdowns, runs for a few yards,
touchdown, he'll rush for like 200 yards a game.
He'll get you there.
We'll see. And I got some pretty good wide receivers. I got some decent tight ends, some decent running backs, running back quartet, as my draft analysis said. So I feel good about my team. I do feel great about our Thursday night game versus the Bills coming to LA.
How excited are you for week 1 to start with your Rams taking on?
I mean, I'm high. So these are the two projected number 1 and number 2 teams in the league, right? And people are
who's projecting the Rams to be the number 1 team in the league? Who?
On
what list?
So right now, surprisingly, Bills are like the number 1. If you look at the power rankings,
no, the Bills are fine. They're fine where they're at. I see why everybody's putting them there. Who's putting the Rams? You just snuck that in.
No, I mean you
can't slide these things past me.
What do you think we're ranked at in the power rankings? Who cares?
Just because you win the Super Bowl doesn't mean you're the number 1 ranked power. On power rankings.
We won the Super Bowl and we haven't lost anything. We lost Von Miller, but we got Bobby Wagner. We lost Robert Woods, but we got Allen Robinson. OBJ is very much inclined to re-sign with us.
Is he?
Running back.
Is he inclined to re-sign?
Yeah, I mean, he's been tweeting about it. Like, he's injured, but I feel like you're going to see OBJ come back like week 7 or week 8, just like he did last season, and he fucking fresh set of legs, ready to go. I think Bills coming to LA, I think we etch them out just on experience, but I think it's going to be a great game. They're a really great team.
What experience? What do you? As if Josh Allen wasn't in the fucking shootout of a lifetime with the Chiefs.
So if I look at the two teams, right, who is a better quarterback? I think Matt Stafford is a really good quarterback, but I don't like if you look at the stats, Josh Allen, right? Who has a better wide receiver core? We have the better wide receiver core. Who has a better running back group? We have the better running back group. Who has a better? Yeah, for sure. You can't even name the Bills running back.
I honestly can't. Exactly. I tried to, and I was like, "Ooh, you're right."
They have a better offensive line. We have a better defensive line. We have a better cornerback group.
Okay, all right. Enough of this. Sucking off the Rams. I'm looking forward to week 1, man. It'll just be good. We got the Vikings, right? Vikings week 1. So that's a game that could go either way. The Vikings seem to have at least half of our number. They're usually good for 1 win against us a year. So we'll see. I'm just excited to fucking have football back, dude. Enough all this talking and fucking nonsense. Let's just fucking. All I want to hear is Scott Hansen say, "All right, we're here for the next 9 hours of football." That's all I want to fucking hear. Next Sunday. So
Thursday night, man. I'm gonna have a couple rolled up. You know what I mean?
Yo, what are you doing? What's the plan? What's the are we making moves? What are you doing?
So it's a Thursday night game.
Assuming that I don't have COVID by then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Thursday night game on Amazon Prime. I was thinking about going out and maybe like coming down into the city somewhere. But then at the same time, I'm like, man, I want to be able to I don't want to have to search for a place with game audio. I don't want to have to deal with bullshit. I'm kind of leaning towards just like watching it at the crib. Yeah. But I may come downtown too.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know what I decide to do.
Bet. All right. Let's is there anything else that we're watching that we need to talk about?
Nothing of significance. Those are the only things to me really She-Hulk, House of Dragons, and then my old comfort show.
What do you think of House of Dragons so far?
So far, I think it's really good. Someone made a comment to me that everybody in this show is ugly, and I was like, huh, because Game of Thrones had Daenerys Targaryen, right, and then even Cersei, and Jon Snow is a heartthrob, and all of these very attractive attractive young actors and actresses. And then I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "I like the show, but everyone's ugly." And I'm like, "Damn, that's a harsh critique, but
it's a harsh
also kind of funny. Maybe a little bit true. I don't know,
dude. I never really. I don't know. I feel like I watched Game of Thrones differently than everybody else did. I guess there were people who maybe watched it for Daenerys or Jon Snow, but I just watched it because it was a good fucking show. This
Yeah, but
show,
let's be real. The fact that Daenerys Targaryen was also like very attractive, like made like she was come on, she was very attractive in that
but
show,
you
which made the
you know
sex
what's so
scenes
funny?
even better.
You know what's so funny is that so you'll say that, right? But then who's the actress that plays her?
Emilia Clarke.
Amelia Clark. Uh, when she's not in the show, people kind of dog her a little bit in terms of just like, yeah, she's not that great.
That is true. I've heard. I think she
So
was at like some award show recently, and like people were like referring to her as like the ugly duckling at the award show, and I'm like,
yeah, like
damn,
what
like
the yeah, what is going on here? Like, you know, I mean, but
yeah,
so that's what like people are just fucking weird and fickle, man. So when they say like, oh well, everybody on House of Dragons is ugly, I'm like, I like the fucking show. Like I don't really
yeah. I mean, it's
watch
not gonna
it
stop me from watching
for
it.
yeah. That thought had never
I'm
even
not
remotely
watching it for
crossed my mind.
sexual arousal. I'm
Yeah,
watching it
yeah.
for like great
There's
story.
porn for that. We could just watch
Yeah. I
porn
just think it was a
for that.
funny take because I was asking the person, like, "What do you think about the show?" And like, that's the first thing they
Was it
said. I'm
man
like,
or
"Oh,
woman?
I was a woman," and
Weird.
I'm like, "Oh, okay,
That's so
interesting."
weird.
Yeah, I was like very kind of taken back. I was like, "Oh, like nothing about
And
like the
there's
writing or the storyline."
yeah. Like nothing about the show is just like it does have a good plot. Are there any sort of like themes that you're following from the original Game of Thrones
Yeah,
that you think
I,
crosses
I,
over? No,
I had a
nothing like that.
coworker whose wife wouldn't let him watch Game of Thrones because of the nudity and the violence.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, like and so I jokingly asked him, like, she gonna let you watch this one? You know, there's nudity, but not as as intimidating nudity. So you're not gonna get
I
like
said
Emilia
as
Clarke
intimidating.
as Daenerys Targaryen naked. You're gonna get, old fat king or something like that. But I don't think his wife is gonna let him watch it at
Mm.
all. Which is, I mean, could you imagine marrying someone and they're like, I don't want you to watch a certain television show because it has violence and nudity. It's like, I'm not
I
gonna
can't.
fuck Daenerys Targaryen. I'm just gonna watch the show. It's
Uh,
not how it works.
so that depends. Here's a scenario where I think that might make at least a little sense is if you like to watch shows together. If you watch them separately, then I don't know. That's very confusing. Like I kind of just watch whatever the fuck like I want to watch. Like I don't like. Are you gonna put the parental controls on so I can't fucking watch
Yeah,
certain
what
things?
the fuck? I gotta
Yeah,
enter 1, 2, 3, 4,
yeah.
and then you get a notification on your phone like he's watching it again.
Yeah,
Call the lawyer. File for divorce. He watched Game of
and then
Thrones.
the kids leave, and then
Yeah, God.
So that's a weird scenario. But if you're watching shows together, then I can understand that. Like, hey, I don't want to watch a show because it's got like a lot of sex and violence in it, and I don't really want to watch. Like, I know plenty of women who don't watch Game of Thrones explicitly because it's got a lot of like graphic scenes. And who the fuck am I to argue? It does. Like, let's not fucking like hold ourselves here. Like,
Sure, but to forbid someone else. Now, again, I get that.
again,
Like, if you're in a marriage, if you're in a relationship, and it's your partner, right? You may have expectations of that person, and a part of having a healthy relationship is finding someone who is willing to compromise with you on the things that you need in order to make the relationship work. So, if a part of that is like, hey, you know what? Like, I don't want to watch certain things with you because I don't have a taste for those things. That's fine.
mhm.
But to be like, hey, listen, I'm going to go visit my aunt in Seattle for 5 days, and
Yeah.
during those 5 days, you cannot watch Game of Thrones. It's like, wait, what? How are you controlling what I'm watching when you're gone?
Yeah, but again, it that you might not have gotten the full story there, or it's a situation where say like they watch TV shows together, so it's like, yo, I don't want to watch the show, so we can't watch that, right? Okay, fair enough, right? Or if you are actually watching the show and you don't want the other person to watch it while you're not there because you want to watch it with them,
No, it
that's also
wasn't that. It was,
okay.
it was like
It's
you
just
can't watch it because there's too much nudity in that.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how to help this person.
No.
I tried. I tried. But anyways, let's move on here to our trailers. So our first trailer here is Weird, the Al Yankovic story. How much did you listen to Weird Al Yankovic?
I've seen clips on YouTube. I
but you
don't know shit about Weird Al Yankovic.
Like at all? Or were you aware of him?
I thought it was Sacha Baron Cohen at first, but they're completely different people, right?
Yeah, no.
So
completely...
listen,
wait. So you're saying before this, you never really knew who Weird Al Yankovic was?
I'm well aware of who he is.
Yeah.
He's like a weird guy. He does like quirky interviews, right? Isn't he like big into like he's interviewed a lot of like big like hip hop artists and whatnot.
I think you're thinking of Howard Stern.
No. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's this guy Weird Al, or
who's interviewed.
Yeah, isn't he like doesn't he like do interviews and shit?
I don't think so, unless I'm mistaken. He makes music, is what Weird Al Yankovic does.
And the whole big. What am I thinking about though?
I don't know. I think you're thinking about Howard Stern.
No, definitely not Howard.
Because they have the same hair. They kind of look alike. No. Okay. Hey, fair enough. But anyways, Weird, the Al Yankovic story explores every facet of Yankovic's life, from his meteoric rise to fame with early hits like Eat It and Like a Surgeon, to his torrid celebrity love affairs and famously depraved lifestyle. This is directed and written by Eric Peele, I believe that's how that's pronounced. And this is starring Daniel Radcliffe, Evan Rachel Wood, Rainbow. Oh, that's another thing that I'm watching. I'll go back to it. Is Westworld. I actually picked that back up. Not terrible show, but just really disappointing show. But Rainn Wilson and Julianne Nicholson, among others, starring in Weird. So with all that said, whoops, nope, that's not what I want to do.
And while you tee that up, the person I was talking about was Nardwuar. He's like this guy named Nardwuar. He's
I know not who that is.
Yeah, he's like not Joe Rogan. Who's the guy in hip hop? He like interviews people and shit like that. Oh,
Vlad.
Yeah, it's like kind of like Vlad, but he's take Vlad, right? Or take any hip hop interviewer, right? Joe Budden or whatever, and then combine them with Sacha Baron Cohen as like Borat.
Weird. And
then you get exactly. You get this like weird guy, but he like interviews rappers, and he like he's actually really pretty good at rappers. Like a lot of big time rappers like really like interviewing with this person, because he like knows really interesting facts, kind of like the kid from Hot Ones, Sean from Hot Ones.
Yeah,
he'll like pull random facts. He has
good producers, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sure. So this is due out November 4th of 2022. Let's check out Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Put it in. I'm tired of people thinking I'm some kind of joke.
Your dad and I agreed it will be best if you just stop being who you are and doing the things you love.
My whole life, all I wanted.
I'm afraid we found your son at a polka party.
Just to make up new words to a song that already exists.
Oh, well, you should do that then.
My little hungry one, open up a package of my banana.
Dude, I've got chills.
Every once in a great while, I can spot a talent that I know is the future of music. But first, we gotta find you a stage name. Al Yankovic. It's long, it's hard to pronounce. So I'm just gonna throw this out there. Weird Al Yankovic.
I love it.
Weird Al has taken the world by storm.
Do I know you?
Madonna, I was wondering if you were going to do a parody of my song, Like a Virgin.
I'm curious, is that song autobiographical?
Yes. Except for the fact that I've had a lot of sex.
Name me one creative genius that doesn't have a checkered past involving alcohol,
That's the medicine.
and drugs.
I think Madonna's a bad influence on you. What? No offense.
I'm a train wreck. My parents wrote me off. I pushed away my band.
You're all just a bunch of normals. I'm the weird one.
You gotta
take care of yourself. I saw in you something special, an artist with something to give to the world.
In front of all the billions of people watching around the world right now, all I want to say is be as weird as you want to be. You will never find true happiness, so you can truly accept who you are. Thank you.
Oh, Al, you can't smoke in here. I totally deserve that.
A Roku original.
Yeah.
You know, they came out with that Elvis movie recently.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just coming out with movies about like random people's lives, like people we don't care about.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't say people we don't care
Now,
about.
granted, a lot of people care about Elvis, but like, who would have ever thought a Weird Al Yankovic like mock? It's not a documentary or
no? That's what it looks like. Really weird
documentary.
Yeah,
I think it's like a comedy, but like about his life, kind of.
You know what this feels like? This feels like It's a thing I watched recently that was like kind of like Mike, the Mike Tyson thing from Hulu.
You watched that on Hulu?
Yeah. I watched at least like the first whatever episodes that are already out. This feels like that.
Mike
where
Tyson
it's like,
said not to watch it, so I'm not going to watch it.
I was curious about it, so I watched nonetheless.
Traitor.
But what the fuck do I owe Mike Tyson? Like,
you fell to the corporate machine. They stole his life story and made it into a show without his consent. And he was like, a lot of it was inaccurate. He didn't have any thing to do with it. And like,
well, I think he's mad because he didn't get paid. I think he'd be much fine with the series if he got paid. Right?
That's why. Remember when Chappelle was like they're like airing Chappelle's show on Netflix and they didn't properly compensate him.
Yeah, I didn't stop watching Chappelle's show because of that.
Oh yeah, I was not going to watch Chappelle's show. I'm on the side of the creators. I fight for the artists. Me and Anna Delvey.
You and who?
Remember Anna Delvey, the girl who was like the joint who frauded everybody in New York?
I have no. Oh wait, is this the Making Anna thing or Breaking Anna?
Yeah. Have you ever seen that?
No, never watched it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Anyways, so this reminds me of that Hulu series because it's like it's I guess his life, but it's like this like parody version of it where it's just like everything's like really exaggerated and stylized. And so, anyways, sorry. Continue with what you were saying.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
Yeah.
But this looks better than I thought it was going to be because I'm like, I don't give a fuck about no Weird Al Yankovic. But this actually looks fairly interesting.
Yeah.
It's on Roku. I do have Roku. So
apparently, Roku is making their own films now, and they really wanted you to know that because they branded it in the actual trailer itself, and it's like, well, do you not have enough confidence in yourselves to just
they're
put it out there?
You to know we did this shit. It's like when DJ Khaled is on any song.
Yeah, we the best.
To let you know we're
DJ Khaled. So a couple things. For one, that weird thing about the Roku TV Roku original thing being like stamped on the actual trailer itself. Strange. And then this second thing was at various points in this trailer, I felt like they kind of took. I feel like they took it way more serious than I think maybe Al Yankovic story should be taken. All I want to do is just change the words to songs. And it's like, is that how it happened? Was he really that serious about it? He's like, I need to do this, or was he just like fucking around one day and was just like, all right, oh shit, this sounds kind of cool. Let's try that.
I have no idea. I imagine he felt like, here's a hit song, but like people like me are weird and we like want a weird version of the song that's not as like, maybe like less serious, more just like funny. I guess that's how we got to start.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or he was just like, I'm going to make a parody. I'm going to make a joke out of everything, and it just turned out to be a hit.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how much he was involved in the making of this, or if this is another Mike Tyson situation where he's going to denounce it thereafter. But another thing too is I wonder how he even like, and I'm sure they might explain it in the thing, but like, how the fuck did he get the license to do that? Because is that not like a copyright infringement thing where you come out with a song and then somebody does a song that pretty much sounds exactly like it, except where they just change the words around a little bit, but it's like the same melody,
same everything. If you change enough.
But he didn't.
Lyrics.
He would be the exact person that did not change it enough for it to like count as changing it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of worked for him. So I guess he legally changed enough of the music or the lyrics in order for it to be like a proprietary content. I mean, like he like wrote it and owns it.
Look at you.
Owns the rights to it.
What are you trying to go for your master's degree? What is it? What's all
Listen,
these big words?
Monday through Friday. I'm sneaking a few in on a Saturday.
It's Saturday. Yeah, it's Saturday. Just stop using it.
Yeah, I saved a couple of them.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's and again, that's due out in November 4th, I believe, of 2022. Let's move on to another trailer here. We've got The English. And I'll be honest, I never even heard anything about this movie until now. But this follows a woman.
I'm not sure if this is a movie or a show. I believe
it a series?
A short series on it.
Okay, you might
Amazon.
be right. Yeah, new series. Yeah. So follows a woman as she seeks revenge on the man she sees as responsible for the death of her son. This is, as you said, stars Emily Blunt, Syrian Hines, Rafe Spall, Tom Hughes, among others. This, I believe, was created by Hugo Blick, but at least at the minimum directed and written by, which I'm assuming it means also created by. And this is due out November 11th. We're there, dude. 2022 is almost in the fucking bag.
4 months left. We got September, October, November, December.
Dude.
And then it's a wrap. But a lot of people are still like, 2020 is still like,
we're still in 2020's. Like,
I remember 2021 because we're in 2022. We're still talking about 2020. It's about to be 2023. 2021 doesn't even really matter. I don't remember what happened.
No, I'm telling you, we're at hopefully at the end of a trilogy, right? 2020, 2021, and 2022 at minimum are a trilogy. Who knows if we're going to get a fourth? Maybe we'll get like Thor, Thunder, and Love.
What if this is like part one of the end, right? It's like Fast 9, like Fast 10.
The first third. Yeah. So the first three are just like the first the first third of the films, and then we're gonna get another trilogy. Where it's like you know what we're in right now. We're in a Spider-Man. We're in the Spider-Man universe where you get the first set of trilogies. Then you get the second set of trilogies, and you get a third set of trilogies. And I guess technically for Spider-Man, it wasn't a trilogy for Andrew Garfield. It was just the two.
Yeah, he only had two, right? Yeah.
But there's been talk that there might be a third. But anyways, The Englishman. The Englishman. The English. Englishman is a completely different thing altogether. All right, let's check out the trailer out for The English.
My son, he is dead. And up on Powder River, there is a man trying to forget that he ever existed. So I'm gonna go up there to remind him.
Don't expect me to care for one boy.
Help me, please.
Can you shoot?
If I have to.
Oh, you'll have to. My people lived here over 2,000 years. White folk come like locusts, hopping over each other's back to steal land. I just need a few acres.
Revenge.
You ain't the only one.
Looking for David Melmont.
Ain't exactly looking to be found, ma'am.
Someone you're traveling with. Maybe it's best for you to see the world as it really is. Us. Them. I got a knack for survival.
Nice country. You're gonna win. You can't fight fair.
You wanna have some fun?
Not quite the woman I expected.
The only story I can tell is mine.
You ain't here but a moment. None of us. One day, you'll go home.
Home is here. With you. How we met. Why we met. It was in the stars.
All right. That was a trailer for the English.
That's going to be on Amazon, I believe, right?
This is going to be on Amazon, yes.
There's a couple good things coming to Amazon. You know, I'm not sure if you checked out Lord of the
Rings.
Yet.
No, I meant to check it out before the podcast. I just didn't get a chance to watch it. But yeah, I'm excited to watch that one. Weird things surrounding that one. People were like, there are a sect of people apparently who want it to like fail or want it to like not do good for some weird, strange reason. Yeah, I don't know why. Usually people are nut on themselves to watch anything.
Did you hear anything else about that? Like they just want it not to.
Yeah, basically just talk shit about it. Like just like with anything else, they just talk mad shit about it online. And it's just like, well, the thing hasn't even come out yet, so why don't you just give it a chance to breathe? But and also like I don't know, it's just like it's just like anything else. Like if you're a fan of one thing, then apparently you want the other thing to die, right? So if you're a real big fan of Game of Thrones, you're like fuck Lord of the Rings. If you're a big fan of Lord of the Rings, fuck Game of Thrones. And it's just like wait,
See,
I think both of these things
like that. I'm like,
yeah, you are.
I'm looking. No, I love Game of Thrones.
Anybody mention LeBron?
Like Lord of the Rings.
Anybody mention LeBron? And I think you'll have that same exact conversation.
Well, that's because like LeBron is one of the most hated on athletes ever to live.
Yeah, because
like,
everybody thinks that they're being persecuted, right? So you think that LeBron's being persecuted, and then people who are like MJ stans think that MJ's being persecuted. Everybody feels like
MJ's being persecuted because like MJ's loved, right? And the same things people love MJ for, they hate LeBron for the same things. It's like, oh, he was great at scoring.
You're doing it now. You're doing the thing that I'm talking about. You're doing it. You're pointing an example. You're doing it right now.
So no, it's not at all even remotely close to the thing that you're talking
it's
about.
Exactly.
In one situation, I'm talking about how like people love Jordan, and I'm saying that like you can love Jordan and love LeBron at the same time because they did the same thing, right? They both were great. So you can love Game of Thrones and love Lord of the Rings because they're both great shows. Like one doesn't have to be better. If you have a preference to one, fine, but it doesn't mean the other is terrible.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Anyways, we are getting besides the point. The English as a trailer, I thought looked really looked interesting. I can't say it's nothing in like even like set in the old West tends to be attractive to me. So immediately as I see it, I'm just like, this looks like some boring shit that I'm not going to be into. But I don't know. I can give this a chance. Emily Blunt, she's really great. She's a great actress. Does her thing. Can't say that I'm familiar with anybody else who was in it. But I think it's a BBC production. So maybe they just have a whole bunch of like English people that we don't fucking know.
Yeah, I mean you're right. Like I generally don't tend to love shows or movies set in this time period. Yeah. I did enjoy The Harder They Fall, which was the Netflix.
I was lukewarm on it.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. So I mean, like it's something like this, like I'm willing to give it a chance. Especially if they put together the right cast and there's like a rich enough story to tell.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think it's a limited series. So I think it might only be like 6 to 8 episodes.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to give that a try.
Yeah. But again, this comes out November 11th, and it's a series. So I'm sure you can catch it. I'm sure they won't release all of it at once. That everybody's sort of taking the hint now that maybe we should start spreading the shit out instead of letting people binge it and then promptly forgetting about it. So I believe it'll start airing November 11th and on Amazon.
Probably weekly episodes or something like that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next story here. So Daniel Kaluuya, he basically, he I guess was talking about some of the things that he's looking to do after Nope came out, and he basically mentioned that he's going to try to step away from the front of the camera and more towards the back of the camera. That sounded weird. Behind the camera, I guess is how I should put that. So he says here, and this is per in an article from Deadline. He said, "I like the films to come out and have nothing lined up. You're showing a new performance, a new way, a new space that you were at you were in at that time. So you got to let that get out there and spread." So he's basically just saying like, hey, when you make these movies, you kind of have to let them breathe a little bit and not just do one thing after another, because every project deserves its own sort of merit. And so he has a production company of his own. And one of the first things that they're coming out with is the aforementioned Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, starring Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown. And his production company is called 59%. I'm curious to know what that stands for. But the real reason why I wanted to talk about this was it's interesting coming from Daniel Kaluuya that he wants to turn now to the producing side of it, and I think even the writing and directing side of it, I think, is where he's setting his attention to. But the interesting thing is like I was thinking about is like, who is your favorite actor turned director or just general behind the scenes creator? Who has made that turn properly, you think, in your eyes? Who's like, okay, this person not only can act but also blew it out of the water as far as directing and all that other stuff goes?
To be honest, so I pulled up a quick list here of like actors that I think have made the jump very well. I'm just going to go through a list. I do think Ben Affleck has surprised.
I could read your mind. I knew you were going to say that first.
No, the fuck you didn't.
I did.
So I do think he's made the jump very well from like acting to directing, and he's able to do both at a really high level.
Yeah.
I think Jon Favreau clearly, his switch from acting to in like small parts and like small comedic roles to directing and like leading large large Marvel films has been like really great. I think John Krasinski, what we saw with the Silent Place, Quiet Place.
Quiet Place.
Yeah, Denzel has made some really good acting debuts. We got to talk about Jordan Peele, as well as Olivia Wilde. I think she has done a really good job.
I would have to hit pause on that. I think, what has she even directed?
So there was a movie I watched recently. Hold on. She has another big movie coming out.
Yeah, don't worry, darling. Comes out soon, which I'm really curious about. Actually, it looks really fucking interesting.
Don't worry, darling.
That's what she did.
She did Booksmart. Yeah. She also did this movie called Free Hugs, which I'd heard really good things about. Mm-hmm. And she directed a few episodes of, I believe it was House.
Did she direct a few episodes of House?
I think she either directed or produced a few episodes, and that's where she kind of like got her start.
I don't think so. I'd have to check back on that. I don't think she directed any episodes of House.
I believe so.
Because I want to say she actually left the show before like it really even got to that point. Because usually like that's what happens, right? You've been with the show for a hot minute, and then you end up directing a few episodes or producing it. But I think she left the show like pretty, not early, but like at a time where it's just like, all right. At the time where she would have started directing a few episodes.
I'm trying to double check it here. I know, like, the ones they give her directing to is like Don't Worry, Darling, Wake Up, Booksmart, and Free Hugs. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I do believe like she's directed a small few of like some of the episodes, of TV shows that she was on. Mm-hmm. And then I think what was her first big film, which it was Free Hugs, and then Booksmart was like. It was like 8 years in between, but Booksmart was like then the first, so I guess the second big film.
Yeah, I mess with Booksmart. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah. So anyway, I do think Olivia Wilde. I think she's like making that transition really well too.
Yeah.
What about
you? You can go in a couple different ways. You can go somebody who's really good at acting and then really good at directing, or just being generally behind the film. Why do I keep saying this? Behind the camera. But I'm gonna go with somebody who was terrible as an actor or actress and that crushed it as a director. Sophia Colbert.
Okay. Yeah.
No. Oh my God. And obviously I only saw her in The Godfather 3, but my God, and it was
that bad.
It was terrible all around. It was just really bad, but she's brilliant director. Lost in Translation. fuck. What else? Hey, Sophia Coppola. She came out with one recently. Fuck. Why can't I remember it? Little Women.
Did she come out with a movie with Jack Nicholson? Oh no, it wasn't with Jack Nicholson. It was with
Bill Murray.
Jones' daughter.
Rashida.
Rashida Jones.
Did
she do?
I don't know.
Did she direct that film recently?
I don't know. I don't know which. Oh, you mean On the Rocks with Bill Murray? Yeah. Rashida Jones, Bill Murray. Yeah. But yeah. So Lost in Translation, The Virgin Suicides. She directed as well, which is a pretty popular movie from the late '90s. The Bling Ring. But yeah, she's turned out to be a really great director. And then who I would have to follow up that is Greta Gerwig. Fantastic actress, and has turned into a brilliant director. She Lady Bird, I think, was her first adventure out as far as directing goes. And then she did Little Women, as I incorrectly said that it was Sophia Coppola, and now she's directing Barbie, and then I guess to follow that up, actually no, yeah, she's just writing Snow White.
Barbie, and this is with Ryan Gosling and Robbie Margot, right?
Yeah. Yikes. Margot Robbie, I think is
what did I say?
Robbie
Margot. What? I just said her name backwards.
But yeah, yeah, Greta Gerwig, I 100% have to put on that list. Maybe I think the best of that list. I really do appreciate where she comes from. Julie Depley. Now I don't know exactly how extensive her directing career has been, but I know that I'm only saying this because I love two specific things with her. I love the Before Sunrise series, which she obviously acted in with alongside Ethan Hawke. And then the 2 Days in New York. I absolutely adore this movie. It's a movie she did with Chris Rock, and I believe she directed that particular movie. Absolutely love both of those. I love the Before Sunrise trilogy and the 2 Days in 2 Days in New York. I think are great. Who else? Who's a nice runner up on this on our list here? I
don't know. Those were the ones that I saw that stood out to me. I couldn't even pretend like I know.
Shout out to Bradley Cooper.
True. Yep.
Yeah. Bradley Cooper, great actor. And then most recently did what was the movie that he did with Lady Gaga? God damn it.
A Star is Born.
Star is Born, yes. So he directed that film. Did a fantastic job, I thought. It was a great movie. Yeah. I can't think of. I guess you could maybe throw in an Angelina Jolie, although I don't know if I necessarily care for the movies that she's directed.
Yeah, I don't really care for the movies that she's directed either, but she's definitely directed some projects that have been award-winning films.
Pretty notable.
First they and what is it called? And Then They Killed My Father. I think In the Land of Milk and Honey. There's some projects that she's had that have been like very notable, well-received projects. I just can't say I've loved many of them.
Yeah. One person that we are forgetting, that is a crime that we've forgotten. I'm going to let you guess this one.
So it's give me a clue.
Yeah, actor. Big in the 80s. Big in the 90s.
I don't know. Tell me.
Oh, come on. Work a little hard for this.
Give me a clue. You said actor.
Yeah, no, I said work. He popular in the 80s and the 90s. Super popular. Popular actor from the 80s. Come on, there's only like a few of them that you need to like go through before you get it.
Who? Stallone?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. That came to me so easily, but I had to like second guess it. But yes, Sylvester Stallone is, he's doing a lot of really good work still.
Is he? I don't know what he's done lately. But Stallone. He turned his attention to behind the camera. Did he direct any of the Rocky movies?
I think he wrote and directed the first film, didn't he?
No, he wrote the first film. didn't direct.
I'm pretty sure he's directed some of them, or he was like a co-director or producer on the films. We've got The Expendables. Say what you want about it, but like for like a action series, they had 3 pretty good films.
Let's adjust what we mean by pretty good. I think we got to calibrate that.
They were pretty good. The first 2 Expendables movies were really good. The third one was like, but he's got some shit under his belt, so we can't. You're right. We cannot write off Stallone.
Yeah. But he did direct Rocky 2, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I think literally all the other Rockies he directed outside of the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a nice shout out. We'll do one more and then we'll get out of this conversation. There's one other person who I meant to mention. Somebody who's up and coming is Michael B.
Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah, because he'll be directing Creed 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to speak about him just yet because we haven't seen his work just yet. But it is interesting.
He direct. Didn't he direct? Wasn't it that it's like a weird sci-fi movie that came out? I know he's directed something before.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen anything he's directed. So I'm going to see Creed 3 before I give him the nod.
Fair enough. Yeah, you gotta see it.
Yeah, I want to give the man the fucking Oscar before I see the film. But yeah, man, so like let's jump into this one last topic here, because the other topic we talked about Game of Thrones and some of the shows that historically they passed on, or sorry, HBO, who historically has passed on a number of shows, and I know that I feel like this is a topic that most people have already talked about, but I do want to talk about this story that happened here in Baltimore more recently on the film set of I believe this is an Apple TV project starring Natalie Portman called Lady in the Lake.
Yeah.
How familiar are you with this story?
Pretty.
Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick rundown here of what happened. Now, so this this is being filmed in Baltimore, and I believe this is the story around that like woman's body that they found in the harbor. Mm-hmm. In like the Fells Point area. It was a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. But here, I'm going to read a quick excerpt from this article here. So a spokesperson for the Baltimore Police Department said that the Lady in the Lake crew was filming around 4 p.m. Eastern in like downtown Baltimore area when the producers were approached by several people. And the group claimed that if they didn't stop filming, that they would be back to shoot someone. There was no violence that ever took place or happened throughout this like interaction or this incident. But essentially what happened is like the film crew was filming in Baltimore on this Apple TV project, Lady in the Lake, starring Natalie Portman. And these people just pretty much rolled up. And I think initially they asked for a payment of, I think it was like $4,000 cash. And they went up to one of the producers on the show, was like, yo, like, I need $4,000 right now. Y'all gonna stop filming. Producer clearly did not have that money on him. So they later came back. And it says they later came back to the film crew and asked for $50,000 or threatened to shoot like in the air. Like I think he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna start shooting if you don't give me like $50,000." It was apparently like some type of like street. They referred to him in this article as a street vendor. Someone by the name. They put his whole motherfucking name in this article too, which I guess that's what they will do. So the Baltimore Police Department confirmed the local street vendor, Keith L. Brown, was arrested on narcotics charges. It looks like this guy had weed on him too after having threatened the production crew, trying to extort them for money in order to continue filming.
Yeah.
Love Baltimore.
How do you feel about that story?
It's unfortunate, kind of funny, unfortunate though, right? Because like essentially what's happening here is like, not many movies and film.
Wait, where did they say was the source for that information? They say it was the cops, right? Like
the Baltimore Police Department has confirmed like this news. So and I believe the majority of this happened on August 26th, so not too long ago. It's kind of unfortunate, right? Because Baltimore, great city. I love the city. It gets a bad rap. And then stories like this always get elevated above the better stories that come out of Baltimore, right? Because it's easy to just talk about the crime and the violence and the drugs. There's a lot of like art and music and just like really positive things that are coming out of Baltimore. So you see something like this and you're like, oh no, like poor Natalie Portman. Now, granted, she wasn't even involved. She was nowhere in the incident. She hadn't even been called to set yet, right? This happened before call time. And I think this incident was wrapped up in a matter of hours. Police were called, police showed up, arrested somebody, but for some reason it is still a story. And like when they talk about this story, they talk about like the city of Baltimore. Like this happened on an Apple TV set to Natalie Portman, who it didn't really happen to in Baltimore. It makes it seem as though the city is like incapable of having like anything nice, you know?
Yeah.
And I hate that part about it.
Yeah. Well, the part I hate about it is that it's false. That's the part that gets me. Is that this just didn't happen. At least the way that it was conveyed that it would happen in the initial story. And I think this is a cautionary tale. The subtitle here is or the chyron here is a cautionary tale of believing everything you read. And especially when it's coming like when the source question everything, especially if it's from the police, and especially if it's in situations like this where it's the Baltimore police, right? Because they have a very significant history of lying through their fucking teeth, which they seemingly have done.
This entire story's false?
I'll read for you here. So over the weekend, we reported a story out of Baltimore, and this is coming from the AV Club. So we reported a story about Baltimore that drug dealers, in quotations, had supposedly tried to get $50,000 out of producers of the Natalie Portman starring Apple TV Plus drama Lady in the Lake and threatened to shoot someone if they didn't get it. According to a statement from the police at the time, the people working on the show simply rescheduled what they were planning to film and found a new location for it. Now, though, the cops in Baltimore have released a new statement, and well, it turns out that they had the whole thing wrong. Those gun-wielding drug dealers looking to squeeze $500,000 out of a prestigious Apple TV Plus production. It was actually one local street vendor who couldn't sell clothes in his usual spot because of where the show was being filmed, and he was arrested on narcotics charges while awaiting paperwork to receive compensation for lost business.
Okay, so it was partly right. So, like, yeah, the vendor that was referenced here
let's
is the person who...
Let's adjust. There's a difference between a vendor who was honestly rightfully enraged that, hey, your business is going to get booted. Because essentially, that's what they do, right? If you're going to shoot in a location and you know you're going to have to shut that location down, you're going to have to compensate those vendors. That's why it's expensive to shoot in certain places, because you have to compensate the businesses for their loss of business if you're going to be taking away from their business. So yeah, like the vendor has a right to be angered. If now, not to the degree where you're saying about to shoot anybody or anything like that, right? That's pretty outlandish. But you do have a right to money in that situation if you're getting booted out. But then there's a difference between that and a drug dealer, because and it's so funny that you brought the story up, because I remember hearing about the story through my partner. She was telling me about the story, and literally upon hearing the story, I said, that's absolutely preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. I don't know what the fuck happened here. That didn't happen. Because just think about that, right? Here, like drug dealers rolling up on a Hollywood production and saying, give us $50,000. Like, am I going to Venmo that to you? Like, what's the end of this? Like, what drug dealers?
It doesn't sound that preposterous, because I'm sure
it does sound preposterous. Before. What are you talking about?
Do you think it's never happened before with, like, you know, there's a whole movie about it, about the making of Godfather, where like the mob, like they were making the film The Godfather, and like people from the mob were like pressing the production company, like, yo, you guys are going to not make this movie. You're going to make this movie a certain way. They had to pay the mob, members of the mob, in order to make the film. For one, you're talking about members of the mob because they're making a mob movie. But then two, and I haven't watched the the series yet. But I can almost guarantee it wasn't as blunt as, I'm just going to walk on your film set, demand $50,000, and then threaten to shoot in the air if I don't get it, and then walk back. No mask, no nothing. I'm not hiding. Broad daylight. I mean, maybe.
Like, what?
Maybe.
What kind of, like, okay, so drug dealers with all due respect, not always the smartest people, but I would have to imagine that you'd have to be smarter than that. That there, for one, you're never going to get that $50,000, and then two, now you just put yourself on Front Street on a Hollywood production that's going to be in the press. That's going come on, people are smarter than that. But
no, we know they're not. We wish they were, but we know they're not. I mean, I don't think it's absurd to think that like this may have actually happened, right? Or well, we know it did. It just not to the degree that maybe the Baltimore Police Department tried to say it happened the second time around. Whereas a group of men came. Apparently, it was just one street vendor who was just like.
But that's my biggest thing about the story is they gave this information to the press, knowing that's not what happened, and still went with that story.
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, but the Baltimore Police Department, I think they probably want it to be the bigger story to make it look, because if it's a bigger story, then the police department gets, a bit more news coverage.
Why is our police department? Why is our police department playing those type of games? Like, what are you doing? Like,
listen, I don't know.
What's happening?
The police chief must be trying to get reelected here or something like that.
Jesus Christ, dude! Like, I don't understand what would inspire them, because you'd as the police. Well, I guess maybe not. I would think that they would think that the actual story is eventually going to get out when the producers are like, none of that happened, but okay. So I don't know what the thought process was here.
Listen, this is the Baltimore City Police Department. I don't know what the thought process is for a lot.
If there was any thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this, to me, it sounds like a story that someone tried to fabricate in order to add some fluff to it. It wasn't one guy, it was 10 guys.
But that's just it. Like a random person, or even one of the producers, or even a random producer who was on set was like, oh yeah, they sliced it up, right? Like, this crazy thing. You're the actual police. Like, you literally know what happened here. Like, there is no
police officers fabracate police reports.
No, but that's this is my exact point though. Is that
so you're saying the fabricated police report could easily be like debunked by anyone who was on set during that time.
Easily. Like this isn't this is such a strange thing to lie about, because it's like, well, what was to be gained from doing this? Like, when the story eventually comes out that that's not what happened, you're going to look like an idiot, which you do look like an idiot.
And on top of that, again, like nothing major, like this was the problem was solved within a matter of hours. It's not like Natalie Portman was on set and they had the gun pointed at her, nothing like that. She was probably in the hotel sleeping, and all of this took place before she was probably even aware. They changed locations. Like, nothing really, really happened here.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate news, because it's just like, oh, well, bam, difficult shooting in Baltimore.
In Baltimore, exactly. So that's the thing that gets circulated now, right? And not everybody's going to hear about this. Just like you didn't hear about the fact that, hey, here's this. Pretty much this is, and the reason why I say the whole thing was false was because and I'll read a little bit more from the article. Apparently, the person who said that they saw a gun retracted their statement, and an employee of the security company working on the set said they heard someone threatening to shoot in the air if they didn't get paid later. Noted that they did not have firsthand knowledge of the incident. So all that to say, all of that shit was false.
People are just like, can you imagine? Like, yep, I saw him point the gun at her head, and then 2 days later,
there was no gun.
I didn't see it. There was a reflection of someone through a window, and through that window was a mirror in which I thought I saw someone point a gun, but it probably didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, whoa,
and
someone just did 10 years.
And so
didn't see it?
What I love about this story too is that this article is from the AV Club. So the AV Club immediately throws the Hollywood Reporter, which I guess first reported this situation. They immediately throw them under the bus, being like, it was the Hollywood Reporter that said this in the first place. All right, so if you got any beef with them, go to them. And then they say the Hollywood Reporter also stresses that the cops say that this is still an ongoing investigation, so there might be even more twists, as if this is a fucking Hollywood film. It's just like, we could easily just go to either producers or whoever and be like, yo, the fuck happened here, like what was going on.
Yeah, you gotta point the finger.
Yeah, but now it's just like I don't know, man. This is who knows? There might actually have been a gun, and now it's just like, all right, come on, you guys are clearly trying to cover your own ass.
Point the finger back out of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, but was it Jay-Z? And this is a common saying, so this is not. Oh, we never talked about Jay-Z talking about he's not a capitalist, and it's like, Jay, I don't know, you might be losing the plot on this one, dude. You're 1,000% a capitalist, but
no, I mean, the thing I heard was Jay-Z responded to it. He was like, well, like, what's wrong with that? Like, the whole point of
if he would have
to make money.
If he would have said that, what's wrong with being a capitalist? That's one thing. But he was basically trying to equate it to like a racial slur. He was basically equating it to like, well, first, when I was coming up, it was calling us niggas. Now, then they, I don't know, he had something else in between. Then he was like, oh well, and now it's like, oh well, you're a capitalist, and it's like, no, I don't think that those are the same things. How?
So I agree because what he's saying is like, before they called us like niggas, and then they called us a whole bunch of other like terrible racial slurs and whatnot. Now, if I go from being called a nigga to a capitalist, like that's a positive thing in my eyes, and I agree with him. Like,
not necessarily
call me a capitalist if you want to. That just means I'm getting money, but also creating opportunities for other people. And there's nothing wrong with being a capitalist and a capitalistic. Like, what are we not supposed to do it?
No, this is an argument. It's a good. I'm not saying that you're 100% wrong, but what I am saying that there are things that you don't take into account. Meaning that in order to become a billionaire, like Jay-Z is, you don't just become that by like doing everything cleanly. Like, so for instance, there's a lot of shit that Jay-Z started and then shut down, right? Or took over and then shut down, right? Like, there's a lot of businesses and shit like that. There's a lot of business practices that you have to go through that if you were sitting on the other side of it, you'd be like, yo, fuck that dude, right? Like, so for instance, if you're somebody working for Amazon, I'm sure you don't think that highly of, especially depending on where you're at in a company. If you're just a delivery person or whatever, pretty confident you don't think that much of Jeff Bezos or anybody else on the executive team, right? Because they're giving you these crazy hours, and if you don't do it, then they just fire you. If you try to unionize, they fire you. Like, if you try to do all these things to better your own position, they say fuck you at the end of it. And that's what being a capitalist means.
Equate that to Bezos directly, because like, is Bezos the one making your weekly schedule?
Is it not his company?
Jeff Bezos in there like, yo, we only gonna give Mike.
No, but surely you know that he sets the tempo, right? Like, so
for those, he sets the model of the organization
exactly. So it's not like they
profits and so on. Yeah,
it's not like they do that shit and then it's just like Jeff Bezos is like, wait, what have you guys been doing this entire time for the last 30 years? Oh, that's crazy! I had no idea. I've just been on my yacht. I had no idea that you guys were doing this.
I'm just never the person to like point the finger at one person, right? When you look at Amazon, the reason why Bezos is able to get so rich is because of the capitalistic economy that he's simply taking advantage of it, right? And I can't fault someone too much for taking advantage of for the system as is. What I think should happen is like we need to just address like the system, right? That gives these like corporate loopholes, these tax breaks, that allows for these billionaire capitalists to like take full advantage of the system. But if I start a business tomorrow, right, I want it to be $1 billion business.
Yeah, but the hard thing about that is that you're right. We should be able to change the system itself, and to stop all. But the problem is that the people like, or companies like Amazon, they lobby in order to have the system not only just stay the same, but be even more tilted in their favor, right? And you almost have to do that to get as big as Amazon has been, to get as big as like I guess what's Meta now, in like Facebook. In order to get to where these companies have gone, you have to advocate for yourself. But the problem is they use a shit ton of money that ordinary people who want to advocate for themselves don't have. And so it's just like not an even playing field. So when people call Jay-Z a capitalist, he is taking advantage of the system. But then it's because like then the question is, well, then if there is a problem, is he actually part of the solution, or is he just more of the problem? Right. Like I sit in a camp that, at some like you do have to make money, right? Like that there's no doubt about that. But when you get to the status of being a billionaire, you have had to have done things over the course of your professional career that others would look at as be like, yo, that's pretty fucked up. Like you just laid off all those people and tell them fuck them because it was best for business, you know, or I don't know, you screwed somebody over partner wise because it was best for business or whatever the fucking case is. You had to have done.
I'd rather Jay-Z be in the room, or I'd rather like better representation be in the room, and hopefully these people are like, you know, it's not completely lost on them that like, you know, the goal is to like help other people, right? To like pull people up. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that if someone has $1 billion idea that they can't go make $1 billion because it's like, oh, if you're a billionaire, that means you're a bad person, like out the gate. I don't think that's true. I think you've probably done some like shady shit to get to where you're at, just like fucking I would have done. But I think the way to fix it is like fix or close some of the loopholes that allow it to happen.
But you're never going to do that. But that's a problem that I'm trying to. Anyways, we can go from this. But
that problem is less with Jay-Z, and that's with more of like who our elected officials are, right? To like close those.
No, but I think that's what both sides are getting wrong. Both sides are saying it's just the one thing. I'm saying it's both. It takes both Jay-Z and the system and politicians or whoever in order to change it, because the Jay-Z's of the world are basically always going to advocate like, hey, you should give me more loopholes and shit. And they have the power and the means to actually get that shit done versus like ordinary people who don't have that same power. So you're never going to close that off. You're never going to fix the system if the Jay-Z's of the world are just continue being the Jay-Z's of the world.
I don't think corporations or like very wealthy individuals. It is kind of crazy to me how acceptable lobbying is. Like you could just kind of essentially pay to get your way, and it's just like, why is that acceptable? And like
money talks, nigga. Capitalism. What do you mean? That's what we're talking about. But yeah, you gotta get the fuck out of here. Yeah, for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys rocking with us. Hit that like button, subscribe button, share button, all that good shit. We will be back same time, same place next week. Till then, ladies and gentlemen, I think we will hit the very usual protocol. Peace and the fuck out, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good Labor Day weekend. Don't drink too much. It's bad for the liver.